I was the most famous kept man in Harbor City, spoiled rotten by the Suarez. Everyone said Vanessa Sue was wild and reckless and never dated the same guy twice. But she fell hard for me after we fought and broke up. On day one after the split, she came crawling back to win me over. She waited outside my place all day and night, tossing her pride aside, and I looked right through her. On day two, she rolled up her sleeves and cooked all my favorite dishes from scratch. I turned around and dumped it straight in the trash on day three. She dropped a fortune buying back a keepsake from my late grandma, just hoping I would look her way. After that, she publicly announced she was saving herself for me and only me. She swore she would never love anyone else and kept it up for a whole year. I finally let it get to me and agreed to get back together. To celebrate, she sent 999 drones flying over Harbor City, spelling out our names in the sky, and could not wait to announce we were getting married. When someone said I was not in her league, she turned around and crushed that person's company, made them get on their knees and apologize to me, and I truly believed Vanessa Sue loved me for real. Harbor City nights are never just one color. Neon light soaks the floor-to-ceiling windows of the hillside mansions and drifts through the lazy breeze at the waterfront. But tonight, every eye in the city was fixed on the sky above Victoria Harbor. 999 drones poured across the night sky like the Milky Way, slowly forming two names. Vanessa Sue up on the Harborview Terrace. Crystal glasses and a champagne tower caught the glittering lights, and I stood at the edge of the crowd, the bubbles in my champagne glass quietly fizzing out. Mr. Lin, congratulations. Someone raised their glass with a smile that held more curiosity than warmth. Miss Sue has not pulled a move like this in Harbor City for 10 years. I gave a nod and looked past the noise, fixing my gaze on the figure leaning against the railing in the distance. Vanessa Sue had on a dark red velvet gown tonight. The shoulder line sharp as a blade, she was turned slightly chatting with some politician. The cigarette between her fingers glowed and faded in the dark smoke curling around her jaw. That was her habit when she was in a good mood. It had been a year. From the night she knelt in the rain outside the Lin family estate, to now with all of Harbor City knowing. Vanessa Sue had turned her heart around for love for a full year. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I looked down. It was a message from my mom. The Sue family engagement is a step up for the Lins, so act right. I locked the screen and looked up just in time to catch Vanessa Sue looking right at me. She cut through the crowd heading my way, the click of her heels against the floor. So familiar it made my chest tighten. The crowd naturally parted wherever she walked. Like the Red Sea had no choice. She stopped in front of me and casually reached up to straighten my tie, her fingertips grazing the fabric of my shirt, carrying the cedar perfume she always wore. Not a great liar, she said with a light laugh, then suddenly leaned in close, her breath brushing my ear. You get nervous. Your knuckles go white. I instinctively unclenched my fist. She caught it and smiled wider, taking my hand. Let's go. The stars know when to make their exit. As the driver opened the Rolls-Royce door, the long lenses of Harbor City press flickered in the distance. Vanessa Sue turned to shield me from the light, her palm hovering over my head. A subtle, unmistakable move of protection. Once inside the car, the noise fell away. She leaned back into the leather seat, eyes closed, rubbing her brow. The board has some old-timers who want to meet you next week, she said suddenly. Eyes still shut once the formalities are done. The Sue family overseas assets will be yours to run. I stayed quiet for a moment. I have no experience, I will teach you. She opened her eyes, dark and deep as still water in the dim light. Jackson, what I am giving you is more than just a marriage. Her hand rested over mine, warm enough to burn. In that moment, I believed her. I believed her when she came home late, reeking of drinks and perfume, and still remembered the wonton noodles I had mentioned offhand that I wanted. I believed her when some distant Lin relatives gave me a hard time, and she casually bought out their company, and made them kneel in front of me sobbing and begging for forgiveness. I believed her when she burned every single racing license and pulled me close, saying, from now on the passenger seat is only yours. Her voice trembling, Vanessa Sue, who had never bowed her head to anyone in Harbor City, had truly cracked herself open and laid her heart right in my hands, until 3 days later at the Kowloon Bay Circuit. Vanessa Sue said she was going to cheer on a friend in the race you used to love watching racing, right? She asked offhandedly while buckling my seatbelt. There is a new driver tonight, apparently pretty gifted. Truth was, I had stopped watching a long time ago. Ever since she promised to quit racing, I had been steering clear of it, even on TV. But she said so I nodded. The track was deafening. In the VIP section, a server leaned in offering champagne. Vanessa Sue had her brow slightly furrowed, leaning against the railing, watching the track, her profile looking especially sharp under the floodlights. The warm-up lap started with engines roaring, like beasts growling right then. I spotted him tucked in a chaotic corner near the starting line, a guy in a white button-down getting shoved around by a bunch of flashy-looking young guys. His shirt was worn and faded collar hanging loose, exposing a set of painfully thin collarbones. His head was down, messy hair hiding his face, but the tension in his jaw gave away his fear. That right there is tonight's special prize, a rich kid nearby sneered. My uncle's racing crew is gonna take him. You cool with that, Vanessa? Vanessa Sue did not respond. She kept her eyes locked on that direction, the hand holding her cigarette frozen mid-air, ash quietly falling. The starting gun fired and 20-plus supercars shot out like rockets. But everyone in the VIP section knew the real show was not on the track on lap 5. The guy in the white shirt was dragged forcibly to the finish line. Someone shoved a bottle of champagne into his hands and made him stand there like a trophy girl. The guy's fingers were shaking badly. The bottle slipped and crashed to the ground, foam spraying everywhere, and amid the laughter, someone reached out and grabbed his collar. Enough. Vanessa Sue's voice was not loud, but it cut through the noise like a knife through butter, silencing everything instantly. She stubbed out her cigarette and turned to look at me. Give me 10 minutes, not a question. Just a heads up, I did not even have a chance to say anything. She had already stripped off her jacket, tossed it in my arms, and strode toward the stairs. Her heels striking the metal steps, each one landing square in my chest. Miss Sue is getting in the car herself, the announcer's voice blasted through the speakers. Filled with disbelief and excitement, the whole crowd erupted. I stood there watching her walk toward a backup race car. That six-figure custom jacket still draped in my arms, still warm, still carrying her scent. She had promised never to touch a race car again the day she said that. She burned her FIA racing license herself, and as the flames ate through the paper, the grip on my wrist was almost painful. Jackson, I am never letting you have those nightmares again. All those nights I closed my eyes and saw crash scenes. She held me through the whole night, saying over and over, I am right here. So where was she now? The starting gun fired again. Vanessa Sue's matte black sports car tore out like a phantom, braking hard through corners, tires screaming against the asphalt. wild. Every pass she made looked like she was willing to take everyone down with her. Exactly like the night she came after me weaving through mountain roads. Blocking my car without a second thought on the last lap, she nearly flew through the final turn. Crossing the line first before the dust even settled, she had already kicked open the door and was walking toward the finish line. The crowd parted automatically with everyone watching. She stopped in front of the guy in the white shirt, collapsed on the ground, and said nothing for 2 seconds. Then she did 3 things. First, she pulled off her racing gloves and dropped them on the ground. Second, she took the jacket I had been holding and draped it over his trembling shoulders. Third, she bent down and in the gentlest voice I had never heard from her said, "It is okay now, Ethan." The name Ethan hit me like an ice pick straight to the temple without warning. Fragments of memory detonated all at once that hungover morning a year ago. The disheveled hotel sheets, the marks on Vanessa Sue's neck, and the name she kept repeating while grabbing her hair trying to explain Ethan was just an accident. I was drunk, I thought he was you. I had smashed the engagement ring that day, and right now Vanessa Sue was helping that guy named Ethan to his feet. Taking his hand and walking him toward the black sports car, then under everyone's stunned gaze, she spun the car around, floored the gas, and drove straight into the rich kid who had suggested making Ethan a prize. The metallic crash left the whole venue dead silent. Vanessa Sue pushed open the door and stepped out, then looked up toward the stands. Across 100 meters in a haze of smoke, her eyes found me with pinpoint precision. "Jackson!" Her voice came through the track broadcast and filled every corner. "Do not be mad, pause. It is just that he ended up this way because of me." My ears were ringing. I dug my nails into my palm, the pain snapping me back to reality. I shook off the person beside me trying to help, and walked down from the stands one step at a time, making my way toward the center of the track, loose gravel grinding under my shoes. Like walking on broken glass, Vanessa Sue frowned, and instinctively stepped back to shield Ethan behind her. That single move stopped me cold. "Because of us?" What I asked, my voice cutting through the empty track with eerie clarity. "Vanessa Sue, tell me exactly how he ended up this way because of us." She clearly had not expected me to call her out in front of everyone. Her expression went cold. "Jackson, do not make a scene." I laughed. But the tears came anyway, completely out of my control. I thought I was done breaking over you. Ethan reached from behind and tugged softly at her sleeve, his voice barely above a whisper. "Miss Sue, please do not fight with Mr. Lin because of me." Vanessa Sue patted the back of his hand, her eyes staying locked on me, whatever it is we talk at home. Home! The place she had decorated herself, saying it would be our safe haven for the rest of our lives. "Do you remember what you said?" I asked, every word tasting like blood. "You said you would never make the same mistake twice, you said, besides me. You would not touch anyone else." She pressed her lips together, impatience flashing in her eyes. "I do not want to talk about this right now." "Then what do you want to talk about?" I stepped forward, pointing at Ethan behind her. "Talk about how you sent 999 drones across Harbor City declaring your love for me, while wrapping what you really owed him in the packaging of your so-called devotion to me." Vanessa Sue's pupils shrank. "You investigated me?" Her voice dropped 8 degrees. "Did I even need to?" I said with a bitter smile. "Vanessa Sue, who have you ever actually felt guilty about? Back then you drove the Wang family into bankruptcy, made the old man jump from a building without batting an eye. But for a one-night stand, you were out here racing cars and crashing into people. If he had not taken a hit for you that night, would you really have gone this far?" The air went still. The color drained completely from Vanessa Sue's face. Ethan behind her jerked his head up, eyes wide with panic. I was right, it was not just about being drunk, was it? I could hear my own voice shaking. "What did he take for you?" "Jackson, enough," Vanessa Sue snapped, cutting me off. "Do you really have to tear apart every last shred of dignity?" Dignity? What a joke. Watching her shield another man, I suddenly found the whole thing so absurd it was almost funny. The same Vanessa Sue who once punched through a car window with her bare hands just to get to me, blood all over her knuckles, and still would not let go. The one who said even the slightest frown from me was enough to break her heart. That same Vanessa Sue was looking at me right now like I was a total stranger. "Vanessa," I said quietly. "We are done." I turned to walk away and she called my name from behind. I did not look back. I walked off the track, out from under the floodlights and into the thick, dark night. Harbor City's sea breeze hit cold and salty, the way tears taste a year ago on the first day I broke up with her. Vanessa Sue waited outside the Lin family estate. The early winter rain was light and freezing, soaking through her camel hair coat, the Lin family security guards taking turns sneaking photos of Vanessa Sue looking wrecked. Those pictures would hit every elite group chat before sunrise. Vanessa Sue did not care when the butler came out a third time. "Miss Sue, the young master says he will not see you." "Vanessa." Sue stared at that heavy carved wooden door. "Then I will wait until he is ready on day 2. Vanessa Sue went to my apartment. She knew I had no classes, the schedule of the youngest visiting professor at the HKU Fine Arts Department. Vanessa Sue had memorized better than her own. She spent 4 hours in the kitchen. Even though Vanessa Sue genuinely could not cook, the tomato dish came out too salty and almost bitter. The caramel custard was slightly burnt. When I opened the door, I smelled like turpentine. With streaks of electric blue paint on me, I looked at her with a completely blank expression. "Try it, Vanessa." Sue held out the container. Her fingers burned red. I took it, turned, and walked to the trash can. Flipped my wrist, crashed, the porcelain bowl shattered loud and sharp. Vanessa Sue stood there watching the soup run down the inside of the can. After a long moment, she crouched down and started picking up the shards with her bare hands. "Vanessa," I called her. Something finally cracked in my voice. "Do not do this to yourself." "Vanessa." Sue looked up at me and smiled. "So what do you want me to do?" "Get on my knees and beg." "Fine." She actually started to kneel. I grabbed her arm. Pulled hard. Vanessa Sue stumbled into my arms, caught a whiff of the familiar pine scent on me. "What do you actually want?" I asked, my breath falling over her hair. "You, Vanessa." Sue answered without a second of hesitation. "Jackson, I just want you." I went quiet for a long time, long enough that she thought I was about to push her away again. Then I said, "My grandma's belongings are going up for auction next week." Vanessa Sue's eyes lit up. Day 3, Christie's auction house. That plain, ordinary jade pendant starting bid $30,000. Vanessa Sue bid it up to $3 million. The room went dead silent. When the gavel came down, Vanessa Sue turned and looked toward the back corner. Just as she expected, I was there. Vanessa Sue mouthed across the crowd. For you, I looked down and got up to leave. But Vanessa Sue saw my eyes go red. That was enough. After that, Vanessa Sue went all in, publicly pledging her loyalty to me, pouring money into the intangible cultural heritage project I was researching, and when I got pushed out by the academic circle, Vanessa Sue handed me the dirt on the people behind it. The media said Vanessa Sue had lost her mind. The Sue family board sent a joint letter demanding she calm down. She burned the letter in front of all the directors. Whoever is meddling in my personal life can hand in their resignation tomorrow. For a full year, Vanessa Sue walked the path like the most devoted pilgrim, fighting her way back to me until that charity gala. Vanessa Sue had too much to drink, and her regular assistant had been replaced by a new hire named Ethan. When he helped Vanessa Sue back to her room, his shirt collar had a button undone. In the light, the curve of his profile looked so much like the way I had looked when I was young. Vanessa Sue pushed him against the wall. The moment she kissed him, her mind went completely blank. The next morning she woke up, saw the stained sheets, and Ethan still asleep. Vanessa Sue's first instinct was to check her phone. I had sent a message asking if she had slept well the night before. Vanessa Sue ran to the bathroom and got violently sick. Ethan woke up and collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Miss Sue, my girlfriend is in the hospital waiting on money for surgery. Please do not fire me. I will do anything. Vanessa Sue wrote him a check, enough to cover his girlfriend's treatment 10 times over, and told him what happened last night stays buried forever. He thanked her endlessly and left. Vanessa Sue thought that was the end of it, until a month later when I found a thank you text from Ethan on Vanessa Sue's phone. Every line dripping with something more. I smashed the phone. Along with the custom matching rings we had just had made. Vanessa Sue, my eyes were red enough to scare anyone. You said you would never go back to the same guy twice. Those were your exact words. Vanessa Sue had nothing to say to that, and then came the whole scene at the racetrack. And now I said we are done, but Vanessa Sue did not believe it. How could I possibly leave her this past year? Vanessa Sue had given everything. All of Harbor City knew Vanessa Sue was completely gone for me. I should have gotten used to being loved and spoiled and held like I was the most precious thing in the world. But then the next afternoon, Vanessa Sue and her childhood best friend came back from the mall. The car had barely stopped when Ethan came stumbling out of the villa in a disheveled state. His white shirt missing 2 buttons, his neck and collarbone covered in fresh marks, glaring like brands in the sunset light. When he saw her, he looked like a startled rabbit, pulling Vanessa Sue's bathrobe tight around himself, turning to bolt. Stop right there! Vanessa Sue's voice was quiet, but he froze the next second I stepped out of another car. With a paper bag from the art supply store in my hand, I had clearly just gotten back from a shopping run. All 3 of us stood in the courtyard, locked in a strange, tense standoff. My eyes moved over the marks on Ethan, then landed back on Vanessa.